The World Health Organization now has predicted, and this was a while ago, that by 2030, it's going to be the world's largest global burden of disease, depression itself. So we're definitely off here to a progressive decline in the mental health of humans on this planet, and something that integrative psychiatry can really prove to, I think, dramatically impact that issue. Now, in the United States alone, we have 1 in 5 adults that are suffering from a pretty significant form of mental illness at this point. And many of those people are not, they're having limitations in their life due to it. And the Anxiety and Depression Organization America is saying about roughly, from their research, roughly 19% of the United States experience anxiety disorders. Pharmaceutical companies, have made some strides over the decades with medications that we've seen, but now we're also seeing in the last 20 years that new medication development is really waned. So there's an issue there. And really, providers in conventional psychiatry typically are medicating to reduce symptoms and are rarely addressing root causes of the disorder. They're obviously, we're addressing neurotransmitter imbalances and things like this, pathways, but are we getting to the bottom of why did that happen, and is there more we could be addressing? From an integrative psychiatry perspective, the mind is the operating system and the body is the hardware. And it's a two-way street. The operating system can actually affect the hardware of the body. The mind can affect the body, and the body can affect the mind. So it's a two-way street. A pretty core tenet here from the perspective of the body is that inflammation and gut health are very significant factors in being well in terms of mental health.
Okay, so in the gut is where the inflammation typically begins. What we teach at IPI is that there are, generally speaking, 2 very major sources of prolonged inflammation outside of the brain. The first one is the gut. The gut is the most likely culprit for prolonged inflammation. And then I would say that the second part of inflammation, the second most likely, or the other most very likely cause, is the HPA axis. In other words, childhood mistreatment. And in terms of the clues in history, any GI complaint, cramping, diarrhea, bloating, constipation, etc., stomach hurting after particular kinds of food, the standard American diet is really, I think, a sign of a gut problem, especially people who are eating a lot of processed foods from the middle part of the grocery store. The huge lever that we have in terms of dietary recommendations and working with people to heal the gut has so many opportunities for us to heal. When you're making dietary changes, go slow, celebrate the small victories. When the person is now ordering an unsweetened iced tea instead of soda, at the Sonic every day, that's a huge win.